What's up, everybody? I'm Chris Brackett. You're watching Land Life Podcast or listening, depending on if you're Spotify, YouTube, iTunes. I'm Chris Brackett. I have one of my miscanthus planters with me today, Connor Barnes. Give a round of applause. I've been working Connor's butt off behind my big old case tractor that I got at Central Illinois Ag a couple years ago. It's a 75C, and it is a workhorse. It is a monster. If I ever had to, this is not a plug, but I'll have gone from a 30 horse to a 50 horse to a 75 horse now, and that 75 will about do anything I need to, and it will make it on my 20-foot trailer, and it will pick anything up. If I was talking and pleading with anybody out there that's getting into the land game, you got your farm, go ahead and spend the money. Get the bigger horsepower. Get the horsepower. Somebody's calling me. What's up, Connor? How's life? How's miscanthus planting for you there?
It's been pretty fun learning something new every day. We go out there. Every day has different challenges, but it's fun. I'm excited to see what happens this fall with these guys. They seem pretty excited about it. These guys.
Yeah, clients get pretty jacked up. I mean, you know, I just want to thank you so much for being able to help me out. You know, unforeseen circumstances, I took on all these jobs. You know, I start off every, at the end of the deer season, I start off the end of the deer season and go on these consults, and I do a lot local, and then I'll go on consults all over the country, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Tennessee. So I'll go all over. And then a lot of times I'm dealing with guys that are in charge, and they say, hey, I need you to help me with this project. Like, I don't need anybody else to help me. Will you do this? And I'm like, I don't really do the labor. I don't do the labor. I'm getting old. I love concentrating on my farm. I love helping my friends on their farms. But I have a problem saying no to these big. I mean, you've been on some of these farms. Yeah. These are the most incredible whitetail farms on the planet with all the potential in the world. And then I, am hired to make them that much better. I don't use fence like the Dons of the world and all the other people. I don't manipulate the deer using what I consider to be really kind of jury's out on if it's, I don't know if I'd say cheating, but I'm not a fence guy. I don't build all this 8-foot fence to narrow these deer down to whatever. I say use whatever weapon you want, hunt however you want, enjoy your property whichever way you want. And some people's goals are to kill 4 3-year-olds a year with their sons and their grandsons and granddaughters. And some places are like, I'm the only one hunting. I have 2,000 acres and I want to kill a 200 incher. And that's how some people are. And I can adapt to any of those. Mm-hmm. The easy one is to kill 4 3-year-olds and have great hunts and, understand all that. So you're listening to episode 26 of Land Life Podcast, Chris Brackett's Land Life Podcast. If you don't know much about me, I was an outdoor superstar on the Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, Top Shot, Sons of Guns, Discovery, History Channel, Agents in L.A. on Rodeo Drive with the Kaplan Staller crew. I, have chased all my dreams and been fortunate enough to catch them all. And now I'm in a different place in my life where I'm a land, real estate agent or broker for Herman Brothers Realty. I sell and develop farms for, what I call whitetail equity, whether that be trees in timber buying, creating lakes, fish, for fishing, or really my bread and butter is this tweaking of a farm with food and habitat and switchgrass, and in this case, miscanthus. So you and the Appointed Outdoors boys, Zach and and Bucky been helping me plant miscanthus. If you don't know what a miscanthus rhizome is, it is a ball of roots that's planted in the ground, not by seed, but by a little bitty root. Looks like a turkey foot that goes in the ground 3 to 4 inches deep. You seal it up, and then hopefully it'll throw out a piece of grass. When that grass then throws out, it gets bigger and bigger on itself, being a hybrid, and then growing 15 foot tall, acting as a block. I like to plant 3 to 7 rows, and lately we've been planting 3 rows. I'll try to plant them 12 to 18 inches apart. And so Connor and Zach in his off time, when he's not doing his real job, is helping me execute the plans. I'll drive the tractor. I'll make sure that the tree planter is up and down. We really like to till up the ground ahead of time. It'll get a really good weed termination on the weeds and the grasses that are coming, and then we can spray a pre-emerge and actually a burn down on top of that. I'll try to do 3 rows up to 7 rows we did this week, and instead of the 2 foot or 3 foot wide rows that are 12 to 18 inches each rhizome that we're dropping in, I'll try to do 3+ feet away from each other, sometimes 4 feet, sometimes 5 feet. I believe that the lines, the rows, if you will, planted further apart gives more room for the leaves of this hybrid giant miscanthus plant to grow and fill in. And if you don't know, now you know. Connor's been planting it, and we plant these suckers from, I mean, we just got done planting 5,000 of them today. Yeah. So I've planted hundreds of thousands of miscanthus rhizomes, and they're one of my most favorite tricks in my pocket that I have for whitetails, entering egress and entry and exit of how to get to a blind or a stand. Being able to block, like on my driveway at my farm, I have 7 rows of it that you can't see into my farm, which makes it so easy for the whitetails to be on those soybeans in daylight and be on those clover plots in daylight and things. And so look up giant miscanthus. We're not going to take too much time on it, but Connor's been helping me. He's right here from East Peoria, Illinois. He is that younger generation that we are going to hear from today about podcasts, about how they ingest outdoor entertainment and education. I want to know more about like how you and your friends go outlook on hunting. I want to know questions to an old goat like me, how I've been everywhere and I've done everything, and humbly want to teach my nephews and guys like you and guys like Jared from the Hunter podcast that you like listening to him and Jeremy. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Connor, in like where we come from. You come from East Peoria. Go ahead and pull that mic up close and go ahead and tell me, how you started out as a hunter, and then like how your generation and you and your friends ingest and learn outdoor stuff.
Yeah. So I didn't come from a hunting background. I had uncles that hunted, and they'd come home after coming from duck hunting or from the deer woods, and just hearing their stories and seeing the birds on the tailgate, and just not being able to do that, whether it was because of sports, school, it just wasn't really an option.
Yeah, because you're a big athlete, your whole family.
Yeah, we sports, 5-sport athlete, playing sports all day long,
and that's how we know each other is through my nephews, to my best little buddies, my deer killers. They don't go hunting with me as much as they should, but hopefully one day they take me up on it.
Oh, they'll get there.
But your littlest brother plays with Zane. They play super baseball right now at the Super League for 12U. They're little superstars playing on a really good team, so we like going to watch them, and that's how we met. And he was just getting into hunting, and I just said, "Hey, I need help." And so you've been planting miscanthus, but I guess I didn't realize how much you were really into it.
Yeah.
And you said do you like remember you just remember all the ducks on the tailgate and the deer hanging in the garage and cutting them up?
Yeah, or even just the stories, oh, I saw that big 8 or the big 10. This is before, everybody had every name of the book for a deer, and there was 35 pictures of it from yesterday with cell cams,
Yep.
It was just a deer. It wasn't super
Yeah,
giant.
and most of the people only gun hunted in Illinois back in the day. So, you took off that Friday. All the uncles, all the dads went deer hunting. They didn't really bow hunt back in the 80s or whatever, and 90s or whatever. Whenever, I don't even know when you grew up. Did you grow up in 90s?
I was born in 03, so definitely not.
Oh my gosh, I'm super old.
Yeah,
You could be my kid. That's the cool part about the generational thing. I think even with the Hunter podcast. So if you would have grown up back when I did, we had check stations. And the greatest memory that I had was Illinois check stations back in the heyday, back in the 80s. That you would sit at you would hopefully kill a bunch of deer. Your group you'd go to the check station, you'd check them in. The college students would cut the teeth and you'd check the teeth. And if you kind of lingered around, man, the check station there, you would see absolute monsters. You may have like 15 does, a whole bunch of like spikes and button heads and 6-pointers, whatever. And then you would always have this random guy that killed 180 to 200 and something inch whitetail. And they'd be stacked, 5 or 6 deep in a pickup. Yeah. Sometimes they would wait till Sunday evening to bring them all to the check station. Yeah. Not saying that was totally legal, but they were just happy that they checked them in. Yeah. And they would bring them to the check station, and they were just super monster deer, especially Adams County, Pike County, back in the day when I used to hunt down there in Adams County with my dad. And you still remember that culture, even though it was 2000s.
Yeah. And I didn't really get to see a lot of it, but it was a lot of storytelling, campfire stories, just quite like me questioning you today at work or trying to hear those stories. I'm always trying to learn and just put myself in that perspective. And just even as we're talking now, I wish I would have been able to see those 15 does and your little 4-pointer brought in. And then here comes this 187 Magnum, bro.
I'm telling you, man, there were deer. And anybody listening right now that was in the Golden Triangle back in the day of shotgun check stations will tell you the absolute same thing. You could be in Peoria County, you could be in Marshall County, Woodford County, anywhere in Illinois. You would get a pin on your hat, and you would have these deer that were literally some of the biggest deer in the world that never got brought to the Illinois Deer Turkey Classic, never got scored, that some guy just killed them. It was a big deal to build a tree stand with 2x4s back in the day.
Really?
You sat on the proverbial white bucket next to a tree in the woods, and truly at that time, anything could have come by because you didn't have trail cameras. You didn't have guys bow hunting. If you killed a Pope and Young whitetail back in the 80s and even the early 90s, you had done something to kill a Pope and Young whitetail. If you killed one even into the 2000s on outdoor television, you had done something. So what was it that really, kickstarted, fired off your, want to hunt? Your uncles hunted, but your family didn't. They were into other sports.
Yeah.
Was it getting a driver's license, having that freedom? What do you think it was?
I think definitely getting that driver's license helped. I got a bow for Christmas when I was 16, 17, somewhere like there, junior year. And all I did was just run into the woods and pester every deer I could. I chased them all.
State ground, or did you have like a little bit of private, or no?
No private, just running and gunning.
That's cool.
With a bow. Didn't even have a climber at this time yet, and it was just I was just in the woods chasing deer. I didn't know what I was doing. My dad, he didn't hunt, but you just gotta.
Was he a fan though? Was he happy that you got up in the morning and went and did something? I mean, I would think as a dad, he was fired up to watch his son get up at 4 and go. Hold on a second. You're getting up at 4 on a Saturday and getting in your truck and then headed to the woods.
Yeah,
He had to be fired up,
Oh
even
yeah,
if he
he
didn't go hunting
was.
with
He
you.
was, and him and my mom were both very supportive, and they
That's
know
super
how
cool.
deer crazy I am. At first, they were a little skeptical, like where'd this come from, but it's been a couple years now, so they kind of get, November runs around and Connor's not around. It's pretty normal around the house.
That's really cool, man. What about the younger brothers? Are they taken after you?
So yeah, I 2 years ago, my brother Keegan, I have a family friend. He had a little kid bow, shot 45 pounds, and they didn't use it no more. I just asked him. I said, "Hey, what are you doing with this bow?" And he gave it to me, and I immediately gave it to my brother. Bought him some arrows, broadheads. Parents probably helped out with that, but
Yep.
and same thing, dude. We're running and gunning, sitting up on the ground, and luckily he got a little bit easier than I did because I already had a couple years under
Yeah.
my belt
Yeah.
and kind of
At
knew what
least you
was
knew where the
going
deer
on.
were that you could go
Yeah,
blow out,
yeah,
like whatever, right?
yeah. And,
He had to go see him. That's the
yeah,
key.
yeah. I think it was his third hunt, and he shot a yearling doe, and man, the smile on his face, I don't think I'd ever forget
Yeah,
it.
it
I
wouldn't
think
matter
I
if it was
was,
a
I think
booner.
I was honestly more jacked than he was. Like the fact that he got it first time.
How old was he?
He would have been 14 at the
So
time.
you were so how old were you?
I
He was
was
14.
If he was four, no, let me take that back. He would have been 13, so I would have been 18, 19. Yeah.
So here you are, first generation hunter, really,
Yeah.
in your family.
Yeah.
Taking your younger brother with you. He shoots a doe. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah. Super big deal. Didn't even know what to do. Only field dressed 2 deer by that time. Still figuring it out. Yeah. It was amazing. I think it's one of the reasons I'm hooked to this day.
And did you guys hunt in the same tree, like 2 tree stands, or
No,
like?
actually, we were sitting on the ground.
Are you just on the ground?
Oh yeah, on the ground, just threw brush in front of us and sat off a deer trail 15 yards and just got lucky.
Were you worried about the wind, or you just out there doing it?
Didn't know what that even was. Didn't even know wind mattered to deer.
Well, good, dude. That sounds like, I mean, there might have been 20 something years that passed, but when I started going, my dad didn't really deer hunt. Like I went with him gun hunting those 3 days or whatever, and it was cold. We didn't have clothes back then that wasn't even could maybe keep you warm.
Yeah.
And we shot smooth bore slug guns with, I think they were $1.99 Winchester, rifle barrel or rifled slugs.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody had an 870. And then if you had iron sights on a smooth bore gun that shot 50 yards, it was a big deal. So no one really bow hunted. I had a PSE Strataflight that I saved up for working at Brown Sporting Goods to buy my first bow. I never had a peep sight for like 3 or 4 years. I learned, maybe that was one of the reasons I learned to shoot so well, but I would shoot an anchor point where it would, like Bomar's got their little, nose button.
Mm-hmm.
We used to use some rubber adhesive and then part of the serving, and I would put that sucker on the edge of my nose. I'd put a kisser button, and then I knew where my release was.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 anchor points, and then I had this sight out here, and you'd shoot 30 to 40 yards, and it shot pretty well. I could shoot it to 60, and I just thought everybody did, right? Yeah. And I shot really well back then, but it wasn't until I actually went to the basement of the old Castle Kill when I had to be 16 or 17, and I shot a PSE, John Dooley's and Fred Dooley, may he rest in peace. They had an archery range in the basement of the building that I ended up buying, which was Castle Kill. And I was shooting arrows down there with a peep sight, and they would go down there and they put up these orange little circles, and I would bust these things.
Mm-hmm.
Fred was the same draw as me, and I would shoot this peep sight, and I thought, I gotta get me a peep sight, man.
Yeah.
And because I was so accurate from learning how to shoot with these other anchor points. And so I still remember the first deer with a bow. A snowstorm in October, end of October. Deadly. I shot a 6-inch spike deer. And I was creeping around just outside of Jubilee State Park in Peoria County. I was creeping. Started with a W. The landowner let me go, but I didn't know the wind, and I carried a fanny pack. And in the fanny pack, I had gloves and I had like a few things in the side pouches, and in the back pouch, I had this seat that looked like a half moon that had like a ratchet strap on there, and you pulled it tight and then it like levered itself. And I would carry that in the back of this fanny pack, and I would walk through the woods and I would find a good spot that I could see, and I would ratchet that around the tree, and I would sit there in my camo with my bow on my knee, and I would sit there for 3, 4, 5 hours. And that's how I learned to hunt, was sitting up against a tree. And I didn't learn about wind. I don't think I was conscious of wind. Maybe a little bit. I would just find like this thick area. I was always in my brain attracted to like a creek.
Yeah.
If I could see a creek bed or a flat or something. And that's how I hunted. I think I hunted like that for 2 years. I don't think I ever got in a tree stand. I think I sat up against these trees where I would sit still, maybe put some branches around me or whatever, but that's essentially what you guys did. Were you sitting on chairs, or you just on the ground?
On the ground, yeah.
You'd see the deer coming and kind of move, or what?
Yeah, I didn't. So it's basically just piling up branches in front of you, and I'm having him sit in front of me, and I got the rangefinder behind me, and we're sitting there being loud, talking.
Get that thing over there. People want to hear you.
Gotcha. Sitting there talking, being loud, and I'm just laying. I thought the hunt was over. It was 8:40, almost 9 o'clock. Hadn't seen nothing. I was ready to go back home, and just laying down up against a tree. And Keegan told me there was a deer. That's my brother, by the way. Popped up, just ranged him. Didn't spook. He drew behind the brush, popped up, laced him. Perfect shot. 20-yard shot. Double lung, went 40 yards down a hill, tumbled.
So here you are teaching your brother out of nothing.
Yeah.
How did you guys get fired up about it? I mean, your YouTube podcast generation, is this how you're ingesting information? Because I'm old school. Like I watched VHS tapes my whole life, and that's how I learned, was HS tapes and Realtree and CMA. I don't know, what was that? What was that, guys, out there? Country music television. We would have Sunday mornings, and you would have a block of in fishermen and hunting TV shows, and you had Fred, shout out, rest in peace. Man, one of my favorite shows was a show out of Michigan, Fred Troust. And this guy fought for our rights. He uncovered cattle pee in deer bottles. Like, he was a true conservationist. He was one of my favorite television hosts, and he hosted a show out of Michigan, Fred Troust Outdoors, and I would tune in, and that's how I learned stuff. That's somebody messing up our pod here. We got to decline that. We should shut this down here. Where are we at here?
Talking about
oh yeah, so that was somebody calling on we got to do a do not disturb here on the thing. But so Fred Troust was my favorite, man. So when you guys ingest footage and knowledge, is it YouTube based, or is it podcast? Or
I'd say at first it was really just I've fallen in love with deer hunting and watching deer hunting videos.
And that just meant that you were out in the woods a lot. Yeah. And then when you weren't in the woods, you were watching deer hunting videos. Yeah. Where were you getting the deer hunting videos?
YouTube most of the time. Sportsman channel sometimes, but a lot of time it was watching, the Hunter R podcast, or just any YouTube video you
Jared and Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, their podcast is great. You can watch their podcast for 4 hours, 4 different episodes, and you talk to anybody in the whitetail industry. Somebody's been hunting a lot more than I have, and
they just had like Jeff Lindsay on there,
and they have great guests, and they do a good job of asking the right questions so you can learn. I
think they're still just students of the game. I think that they will always if somebody tells you that they're not learning, they're either a narcissist or they're lying.
Yeah.
Like, I always love to learn new tricks. I may not ingest as much outdoor television or podcast or things, but I'm always trying to learn. I'm trying to not like my phase is now I'm trying to like grow fish and grow trees and think about like how much more protein I can get out of a certain bean, or can I plant like 150 pounds to the acre rather than the 70 pounds I've been planting? Like, how can I help the deer browse, but then have, so I'm at that land life where I own land now, where I was and I was hunting public and I was hunting permission pieces and I was trying to get my brothers in and have people to go with. And now I'm this lone wolf trying to create an experiment on my own property. And I'm so far advanced in that I'm kind of down this rabbit hole a little bit, but it's also the thing that I do for a living, which is travel across the country, getting hired by folks that a lot of times that my clients they've made their money, they've hunted big deer, they've killed big deer, and now they've kind of run into a crossroads and they kind of don't know what to do. Do I go more food? Do I take food away? Do I add thermal cover with switchgrass? Do I call a timber guy? Do I do hinge cutting? Do I have too many stands? Should I be outside the timber? Should I be in the field? What is this miscanthus thing? What is this switchgrass thing? How can I do more of a strategy? Because you watch the guys down south. We talked about it a little bit with turkeys. The guys down south have so much acreage and so much woods to go crash and hunt turkeys and get them to gobble and then set up and try to call them out. If you crash the timber in Illinois for turkeys, it would take about 13 minutes and every turkey in that block of woods would hear your calls and they would either be on the neighbors or they'd be gone or they would already came in. And you almost have to deer hunt turkeys in the Midwest, or especially Illinois, to kill them anymore because everybody's calling them. You got 5 seasons. You're rushed to kill this turkey. And I think whitetails are turning into the same thing. I'm definitely seeing a turn up of really big, mature whitetails turning into a younger, how do I say this? The maturity level. You're either going to have a low scoring deer that's 5-6 years old, or you're going to have this young superstar, and that young superstar is on the hit list where this old deer isn't on the hit list. And Jared from Hunter Podcast, you call it Hunter R, which I think is so cute.
No,
in a good way, in a cute, I gave them a hard time about that. That's the fun. Like, that's the cute part is like, I'm like, hey guys, you forgot the E. They're like, it was kind of me giving them crap. But the Hunter R guys, Jared talks about, like, one of his buzzwords is high grading whitetails. He just got his teeth back from his deer he killed on his farm that we just planted some miscanthus on. And I went out there and I, got in the woods. I love the dynamic that they have back and forth, that they're very humble about where they stand with each other and how they talk, and they talk through things. That's a relationship goals that many men should have with men, where they can talk through things. Like, these guys own property together, they own businesses together, and I really enjoyed my time out there helping them tweak an Illinois farm to get their bang for their buck. Now, I would love them to go on their podcast and tell about how much education that I helped them, because they're both sponges right now. Jeremy's a little older, but Jared is absolutely ate up with whitetail, deer, and the Midwest, and big deer, and why does a big deer do this, and what's the difference between this younger deer that has a big rack that's being hunted and pursued more than this older deer that has a heavy rack but not scoreable, and that's that high grading of whitetail. And he is absolutely consumed. And to be honest, I've hit a plateau in my life with 17 to 20 Boone and Crockett whitetails that, for me, I'm not going to go chase a giant on somebody else's property. So a lot of times people will tell me about a really big deer that's on a property because they know I'm going to probably help them. I'm going to go after the oldest deer and the deer that I pick out on my properties that I either lease or hunt. I am not going to go hunt some deer on some other property, like some other consultants and people that kind of go after that. So I get to be on the inside a lot of times. And just happens with the Illinois farm with the hunter guys. We dove into these certain areas, like how I would, if you were like this is what they became my friends through me telling my story through the Hunter podcast.
Mm-hmm.
As that happened, we developed a relationship, and they were in Illinois, and they're not far. And I just was like, let me help you. This is what God put on my heart, to help people. I do this for a living, but there are some people that took the time to come to my house and tell my story. That's like, hey, let me teach you guys, because we have a responsibility through the podcast and, through this being episode 26 and going forward and getting, and pretty much from here on out to the end of hunting season, these things will kick out more and more. And I'm just going to pick certain subjects and go. But having Jared and Jeremy in the field and being able to go like, well, what would you do here? This is where I killed my deer. And I'm like, well, I would have been off this 100 yards. I wouldn't have taken the chance of being down here in with this deer. I would have been back, and I might have killed him earlier. I might have killed him, a couple more days or whatever, but I would have killed that same deer, or maybe a bigger one that came through, because I wasn't willing to put down what I call one of my red paint rules. Yeah. I picture myself dripping in red paint, and everything I touch is red paint, and all of my molecules coming off of me is red paint in a mist. And deer hate red paint, or they can see it, let's say. And so whether that I'm upwind of a cut path, I'm always on the downwind side. It's the details, the devil's in the details, and so like that's what I was teaching them walking through the field. And it was so cool because these guys had watched me on TV, and they'd watched me excel at my passion and my love. But being able to go out to their plot, to their places, and look at the plots and switchgrass and stuff, I really got to pour into them a heart for I don't know, is it conservation, or is it just like, hey, this is the strategy of how I see it? Yeah. The colors that I see in the whitetail world, because of my autism and being able, you watch TikTok, you watch Instagram, you whatever. I don't think people actually understand what autism is. I don't think they understand, like, if you are functioning autistic, you have meltdowns over certain things because you see them so clearly. Today, I watched you guys put in Miscanthus in the back of that planter, and had a freak out because I knew that you weren't putting them close enough together, but I also knew that I hadn't shown you. So I'm like, get on the tractor, you walk behind, and I freaked out for 20 minutes and threw Miscanthus in like a madman in progression and said, this is how we do it, and showed you, and it freaked out a little bit, but led you. And that's taken me 40 years to get to a point that's like, I'm different. I see things different. I do things different. I may not patty cake around. I may not, kind of 2024, sugarcoat, powder puff it around. But I'll be happy to jump in there and do it myself and just say, hey, support me. Watch this. I'm going to lead by example. And so that comes down to the consulting part of it. It's like, I remember Jared being in the field going like, look, I'm not trying to make you mad. I'm asking these questions. You got a little bug there. Right? They're walking. We got stink bugs already. It's May. We got stink bugs running around. We'll probably have Japanese beetles next. Jared's drilling me with these questions, and I love every minute of it. But you could tell, like, he was like, I'm not trying to make you mad. And I'm like, well, I know, but you're asking all these questions, and I would have just pulled back 100 yards and killed him at the top of this hill. Yeah. We'd be like, well, I would never hunt there. I want to be in on it. I don't have very much time. And I'm like, well, if you go in too deep, you can't let deer do deer stuff because you're going to leave your red paint behind.
Yeah.
So I'll always go in like on a consultant job. The first thing that they do is take me to the X where all their stands are, and I'll go, all right, now what way's west? They'll go, okay, well, it's over there. And I'll say, okay, let's try to find a tree about 50 to 70 yards back to the east. Let's pull off of the X because everybody wants to be on the X, man. That's where the deer are. Let's go to the X. And so one of my, it's not my secret, but you have to pull back. I don't manipulate them with fences. I don't manipulate them with anything else, but they're coming to food and from food. And how do you phase out through like, okay, here's where the deer live. They're going to come out through these greens. They're going to work through this. And it's all about flow for me. No manipulation with fence. You're going to hear all these consultants out there in the planet. You all need to hear this. I'm going to drop bombshells in the next couple weeks, in the next couple months, this next year. I'm on the fence about completely blocking, banning, getting rid of some consultants in the world because they're not telling you the truth. They're lying. The thing that they're not telling you is that, you can bash crossbows, you can bash all this stuff. Me, I'm an advocate for whatever's legal, you shoot it. If it's on your property, you shoot it. If it's on public ground, you hunt it. But when you start manipulating whitetails with miles and miles of 8-foot fence, steering these animals through a gap, you know what? You might as well just fence off the whole damn thing and shoot the giant 200-inch 2-year-old. I mean, you might as well just fence the dang thing. If you grew whitetails for 20 years and all your does got out in your genetics and you're growing 2-year-old 200-inchers, like the chickens are coming home to roost. The chickens are coming home to roost. What's done in the dark will be brought to the light, period. And I know that there are things right now in the consulting hunting industry that are out there that y'all would lose your mind if you knew how many miles of 8-foot fence are being put up on properties by consultants telling you this is how they're manipulating at all costs, control the animal at all costs. That's bull to me. I think you should be able to hunt with it whatever you want. But when it comes down to fencing certain areas and doing this and manipulating to the point of putting and recommending $20,000-$30,000 worth of 8-foot fence, well, I'm going to have to get on my soapbox because I think it's a bunch of bull crap. I just really think that y'all minds will open up to the difference between people being woodsmen and people being narcissistic, controlling freaks with fence and not truly being a woodsman and teaching woodsmanship. If I'm coming to your property, I am so passionate about what I do and what I know and how to make these deer flow and let them be deer. We should put out a shirt right now that says, let deer do deer stuff. I am an advocate for letting deer do deer stuff and killing the biggest of that herd that you're growing on your property or that you can hunt. I don't need a fence. I don't need a bunch of hinge cut to make them not leave my property. Your eyes are going to be open. You're hearing a lot about it now right here on this podcast, and you're going to hear a lot about it in the future now that I bring it up. But I have proof positive that farms that I have personally set up, that I have personally bought with clients that are being manipulated and screwed up with 8-foot fence by some of the most elite consultants in the country. I am dumbfounded and beyond speechless for the complete idiocy. Is that a word? The stupidity, it's not even sportsmanlike. I walked on a property and I saw these stands and blinds and everything set up, and I just went, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm paid to do a job. I'm just paid to do a job. I'm not paid to help this person. They didn't ask for my help. Clearly, they have help and theories on what they're going to do. And I literally had to bite my tongue and shut up. Come home to my wife and say, hey, listen, I need you to pray for me because I can't keep my mouth shut. I want to help these guys. I have already set up this property. I've already watched the flow for 3 or 4 years on this property. They have just flipped the property into something almost unhuntable for keeping and holding mature whitetails. But I was paid to be the gardener, the peon to come plant this stuff that this consultant did for this farm. I'm beside myself. Right now, the second week of May, I am absolutely beside myself. Not only am I planting this miscanthus and planting all this stuff and being the errand boy to put all the labor in with my friend Connor and my friend Zach and put all this stuff in, but I look at the concept that's drawn up by the packet mailed to the consultant client, and I think to myself, you're absolutely out of your mind. This is the worst plan and the worst setup that I could ever. And these guys are just taking it with a grain of salt. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that I'm out of line for what I just said? You're a person that hunts public ground almost 98% of your life.
100% for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
You got one little baby 30-acre property.
Right? Yeah, and I didn't even step foot on it last year.
So you were 100% private.
Yeah.
Or public.
Yeah.
The world is turning to public, and then you have guys like me that own ground, 3 farms, that are growing big deer, no fences, food to bed, leaving the pressure alone, letting deer do deer stuff.
Doing deer stuff.
And then outsmarting those deer, and those deer never know you're alive, and you kill these big giants and you get to see them. And you know, I think that's the goal for everybody. You start manipulating them with fence. You start manipulating them. I mean, why not hunt the damn things with bombs? Let's just put some tripwire and some C4. We'll get the Viet Cong to dig some tunnels. Let's just go after them. Where does it end?
I don't know.
I mean, you're a guy that looks forward to one day hoping to be able to afford land, and the way it's going, probably not. Better hit the lottery, get your real estate license, something.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't think that I'm nuts for thinking? I mean, this is a guy that owns land that goes, I'm not putting a fence on my property. I got deer that leave and get killed by the neighbors. I'm still not putting a fence on my property.
Yeah. I just think there's other ways you've showed me and talked about, whether it's on the job or just in all aspects, just there's ways you can manipulate your property or do things that isn't putting up a fence, or there's things you can plant that can help you do the things that you don't need to herd a deer in.
I think there's a romance.
Yeah.
I think the romance of the deer can leave and encounter other people and come back to you.
Yeah.
And because of the habitat you've created, and then come out to your trap that you've created and you kill them. That's a whole nother level than chasing giants on 200 inches, whatever, using fence and manipulating them to go around. And I am speechless that somebody like this person came after me into the industry. Like, don't get that wrong, but I have for years thought this person is helping people, truly helping people. Just recently, I realized that that's just not the way it is. And I don't know. My wife thinks that I should just tell all and tell it all. And I don't think that's for today. But I do think that people need to know that there is a difference between somebody that's a woodsman that's teaching woodsmanship and going, this is free range. You want to go to the neighbors and die? Well, you're an idiot. You want to go get hit by a car? You're an idiot. You're not supposed to be my deer anyways. And you're trying to, you know what? You want to tip a tree or two or whatever to make them go down around the point or whatever. Great. You start adding in fences. Where does it end? And I got off topic, but I think that's what you guys tune in to. Tell me about the podcasting part of the world and YouTube and what you tune into. How do people find more about LandLife? And do you think I should have gone with Full Metal Bracket? Would you have listened to Full Metal Bracket over LandLife? Because my job is to sell land. My job is to sell you land one day, and you to go, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy's my guy. I want this guy to help me buy land. And then I want him to, if I sell you a farm, I make money that way. So you don't have to pay me to consult on your farm. We're going to look at every farm, and I'm going to teach you along the way because you're on my team as a buying agreement or a selling agreement, as a real estate agent or a real estate broker. Then the second part is, if you've already bought your land, you're calling me and saying, hey, listen, man, I need you here. I need you to teach me what I don't know because I'm really good at commodities, or I'm really good at running a moving business, or I'm really good at this. I need you to teach me this. I hire consultants for my business. Why wouldn't I hire a consultant to come in and teach me how to set this up and so I can hunt it with my family better? So my other job is that. I don't really want to be doing the labor part of it, but that's just the way it is. That's what we're doing. We're planting beans, we're planting switchgrass, we're planting miscanthus. We're doing it every day right now.
Yeah, so I think, to answer your question about a podcast, I think what makes it, I think I like the name Land Life, because I think one of the good things about podcasts is it's pure. There's no cuts, there's no edits. It's from the mind, it's from the heart, and it's what you're thinking right now, and it's who you are. So I think that if that's what it is, it's what it is. And some people don't like certain things. There's going to be haters in every comment section.
I just love land, man. Yeah. Everything comes back to land for me. It just does. Like my whole life, like not having kids or whatever, like, you know, even the Airbnb. If somebody came to me and said, hey, I got $250,000, I need to invest it, whatever, what would you do? And I go, you should come stay at my Airbnb for $325 a night. Invite 6 people with you. It sleeps 10 people. You can bring your family 6 more people. Come catch all my fish. Come walk my property and check it out. And then go, holy smokes, I had the greatest time for $325. That's less than 2 hotel rooms when the boys go play baseball somewhere. And you go, oh, I need to get into this, because if I rent this out 10 days a month, it's going to pay for the whole farm. And then I get to enjoy with my family 20 days. I mean, that's what I want to teach America. I want to teach them how to have equity in everything that they do. Because I was a poor guy for 40 something years until my life changed. And then all of a sudden I realized that the world was something that I could understand if I looked at it differently through investment eyes and through how to use the bank's money and how to use money to, you know, build equity in whitetails and how to build equity in land. And I don't think that's going away. I think that land's not going down right now.
No, definitely not going down.
It's definitely not going down.
Definitely not going down.
No, and if you can take a ditch, you can have a professional come build a dam and let the water fill in and then fill it full of incredible fish and feed it. That thing goes up. It may take you $20,000 to put in the pond, but as soon as it fills up and the fish are eating and boiling at the top, it's $40,000 equity. You get 20 something $1,000 in equity. You build it. You got off time and you build a deck, and then you build a dock, and then you put a little gazebo up. You might run a little electricity out there and put you some lights around. You get you what are those things called? What are those? Oh my gosh, on the tip of my tongue. You got the little things with the lights all around.
The green lights?
No, it's not a gazebo. It's not a gazebo.
Patio?
No, it's some fancy new word, man. Pergola.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you got one of those beautiful pergolas out there by the lake. You just got these little white lights around and pergola. Look at the boys are catching fish. Podcast. Is it the way of the future? Is it what everybody's doing? And how do you keep relevant? What would you want to see on Land Life? Do you want me to go back through the hundreds and hundreds of terabytes worth of deer footage and elk and moose and elk bugle in your face and sending arrows? Do you want to watch all the Arrow Affliction episodes? Do you want to watch all the Fear No Evil episodes? Is Outdoor Channel the place to put it? Do we contact an MOTV? Do we contact a Waypoint? What other avenues out there is there out there for? Man, I have hundreds of episodes of Arrow Affliction of Fear No Evil that no one has seen but the first time they aired on the Outdoor Channel. Where do we put that? I want to hear from the viewers. I want to hear from you. I want to know, is it Waypoint? Is it MOTV? Is it just YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know. I think podcast is definitely the way of the future. A lot of the younger generation, my buddies, my brothers, kids his age, I think that's what it's kind of turned towards. It's a new hot thing, you know. People like Joe Rogan, people like the 100 Hour podcast, like really impacting the game right now. And if we're going just based off educational purposes and trying to learn something out of something, I think podcast is the way to go for sure on that.
All right.
Definitely. I like that.
Okay. Well, what would you ask me right now? If you were representing everybody at home or yourself, or if you had two questions. One, right now, you, Connor Barnes, East Peoria, Illinois, 20 years old, new hunter. How long you been hunting?
This is going to be year 5.
Year five. New. Yeah, I've been to the top of the mountain, a superstar, killed them all. What would you ask me? In any category, in any direction, what would you ask Chris Brackett, Fear No Evil, Arrow Affliction, killed 20 Boone and Crockett animals or whatever? What would you ask?
Well, first thing I'd probably ask is, like, you've been in the game a lot, you've been hunting a long time, you know, what's something you don't want to see disappear from the hunting world, I guess we should say, like something that was passed down onto you or a trend you see the younger generations that you think either needs fixed, not necessarily fixed, or just something that really needs to stay and that's good for hunting and can keep it so pure and just, you know, something that an old guy needs to tell a young guy to keep the sport going.
Man, if heavy footsteps, there's something about a pure heart with good intention and good, like, walk with the Lord, right in your life, honest, humble, clear thinking. When you go into the woods with a pure heart and excitement and free of burden and sin, the fact that the animals can't sense the heaviness of the footsteps. This is something I've talked about with killers, true killers, that when we walk into the woods as killers, you carry, if you're carrying what you have at home, what you have done to people, or the hardness of the business week, or the pressure to have a TV show that you gotta kill a giant or you gotta get it perfect. There is something to be said about that harshness, that heavy footsteps, hard on your heart, heavy heartness. So I guess what I would say was, I hear a lot of people say that my church, I'm closest to God when I'm 10 foot off the ground. My tree stand. You're like, okay, that's great. All right, listen. You should probably read the gospel a little bit going in there, okay? Yeah, you may talk to God there. You need to know that Jesus died on the cross for your sins. And you need to know a little bit more than just being, I'm 20 foot closer to Jesus. Okay. But I think there's some depth to that. I think there is some depth to, am I just a hunter wearing sick gear, shooting the latest, greatest Matthews out of a $2,000, $5,000 muddy blind or something? Or am I out in the suck? It doesn't have to be public ground.
Yeah, that's the super suck.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is. It's a graduation. There's nobody, I don't care. There'll be some guys that comment, but there ain't nobody hunting public ground that doesn't dream of having their own piece of private.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Everybody.
And if they're telling you that, they're lying.
Yeah.
Because I was that guy. I used to hunt public ground with Jimmy Lee, and we killed big deer on it. And public was different back then. But you really asked a question that said, like, what would you not want to die?
Yeah.
I think just the romance of the dreams.
So are you saying like hunting for the right reason?
I think you got to be right with your family, man. I watch hunting become such an idol to so many people. It became an idol to me, hunting these really big deer in the television show, whatever. But I wasn't raised right, but most of us weren't raised right. They're not with mother and father that are still together like you and have, kids, and, they're both either leaders in the community and teachers and wrestling coaches and whatever. Like, you've got a lot of gifts that you have that helps with the outlook of your life. A lot of us are a little hardened, got the tats, we got the chip on the shoulders. The dads weren't really, that were abusive and stuff like that in our lives. And I think that generation that's coming up, I think they really need to know some purity. And what I mean is that the simplest form of hunting is skinning that deer, gutting that deer, cutting that deer up, taking care of that deer in a proper manner, that if you make a good shot or a bad shot, knowing how to deal with that gut shot if you got it, knowing how to get that deer in a cooler and that meat cooled off. I still bribe my friends to come to my house. I'll feed them pizza, I'll cook them steaks, I'll buy the beer, whatever it is, to try to have that romance of when I was 6, 7, 8 years old playing with deer feet, where all the men in my life, my dad, his buddies from the post office, Gail Johnson, Doug Johnson, Chucky, I forget his, Chuck Donegan. These guys were in East Peoria. Funny part, I could take you back to the house because of my little photographic autistic memory, but I could take you back to the garage, man, where I played with my first deer hoof. And I watched these guys. They would go shotgun season, and then they would cut them up during the week. They'd all get together one night. They'd have all the kids running around. I mean, drinking Blatt's beer and Busch Light. I don't even know if there was Busch Lattes then, but these guys would have music on, 80s like country rock.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
And like smoking Marlboro Reds, dude, Blatt's beer, but they were cut, I still hear the sounds of the saw cutting up the deer legs, and me running around playing with the deer legs, and me putting them in the window to freeze dry, and cutting up meat and having that community thing. If I ever said anything about bringing it back, it would be like, okay, if you hunt public and your buddy hunts private and it does this, whatever, figure out a time that if you kill a deer, involve that other person and call 3 or 4 buddies to come drag that deer. I grew up in a time where if we killed a deer with a bow, we called at least 4 people, and all 4 people told their wives, I gotta go. Connor killed a buck. Connor killed a doe. I gotta go. Even for a doe, man. And 4 people would converge and be like, let's go, dude. And it was an all-night adventure trailing this thing with flashlights and ropes and we didn't have 4. You were lucky if you had a 4-wheeler, and like up in Woodford County, those big hills. And so I would say figure out how to bring a new person, even if you double lunged that doe at Jubilee or someplace, public ground or whatever. Figure out how to involve another person to go on the blood trail. I get teared up. I think about Tripp and Zane going to, there he is right there. This dude right here. Yeah. Dude, that was one of the biggest bodied deer ever, the Method Man. I killed Method Man on like November 11th, and I had a guy from New Zealand that was happened to be with us. I had a doctor friend of mine, brain surgeon guy, that I was helping him with land. He's one of my best friends at the time, and I had 2 of my camera guys at the time. I had Tripp, Zane, my sister, my girl, and I forget who else. We all went to blood. Now this thing got double lunged and blood flying everywhere out of it. But I took the time to not go after the deer. And I called everybody and I said, hey guys, there's this deer. It's a beautiful night. It's around Halloween. Yeah. Like, let's go get this deer. This reminds me of, and we had one of my greatest memories of my life. And so I think that's where I would go back, is how do I create tradition, and not sinful generational tradition that could rob from you, but that can grow, iron sharpening iron, is like, how many of your youngest brothers how many of your youngest brothers can you go get to go take them out into the world and take them out hunting?
Yeah. I try to get them out as much as I can, to be honest. I think I don't know, it's just something different. And I think if you haven't been there, you definitely need to.
Yeah, keep talking. I got to check on it.
Oh, no, you're good.
So, like, what would you think?
I mean, I don't know. I just think that, especially in today's day and age, the younger generation, man, we got to get them out of the house. We got to experience the dirty knees, falling over in the woods, slipping. It's icy, rain, snow. You just get them out there. They need experience out there in the woods, and we're in a day and age where it's just not a thing anymore. Kids aren't going outside, and I definitely think it's something that can be passed down for the years to come. But if we don't nail it in the head now, we don't know where it's going to be. And if we don't have people speaking for the sport, who's speaking for us?
Yeah, I mean, and so you're saying the same thing. Like, I mean, you're already doing it with the younger kids
as much as I can. Yeah,
I really think that the tradition part, without the sin, just adding them to it.
Yeah.
Whether it's the cut up or whether it's the gutting, maybe it goes back to more like an alpha male.
Yeah.
Alpha male stuff.
Yeah.
You say you're an old soul growing up in a generation where people don't know if they're boys or girls or cats. So what does that look like? Does that look like just taking them? Hey, come over, let's pick some ducks.
Yeah.
I don't know where it ends. Does it end with, like, do you pay them to get involved? Do you incentivize them to get involved?
I'm definitely not going to make them do anything they don't want to do or force them to be in a situation. But I think it's the way you bring it to them, it's the way you expose them to what they're doing. And I think if you do it in the right manner, and, I like to say I'm a good role model for my brothers, and they tend to follow me and do what I like to do, and I just think I try my best every day just to be the best role model I can and just give them all avenues of life and different experiences and different things, because you just never know what's going to happen. You never know what you might like. I was 7, 8 years old wanting to be the next best football, baseball, whatever. It didn't matter. And
now all you want to do is kill things.
All I want to do is chase giant deer around every day of the week.
Yeah.
Every day.
Even if you can just see them.
Even if I see him. I almost made you stop today. We didn't even have horns on it. You said, look at that deer. I was like, hold up. Where's it at? Let me see it.
You said you saw more deer with me in the last couple of days than you've seen all season.
It's like you're a magnet to them. You're a magnet to them.
Well, unless they're giants, they're kind of safe.
It might help out the areas we're at, because they're beautiful areas.
We're in the spots.
Great farms.
Greatest clients ever, man. They got the greatest farms. Yeah. It's like, it's a catch-22, because I love the fact that I go consult. I come up with this mad scientist plan.
Yeah.
The part that kills me is when I have to go dive in and, I feel guilty that their farm doesn't look like mine yet.
Yeah.
And I know it's just a year labor on it.
Yeah.
Money, labor, blood, sweat, and tears, even if it's ours. Yeah. And their farm's going to be incredible.
Oh yeah.
It's so.
The last 3 farms we've been to it's going to be. I can't wait.
Like the one today.
You better send me pictures of them next.
Like the one today. Can you imagine that miscanthus all the way around the outside? Yeah. The blinds set up in the areas.
Perfect.
Corn where we tilled up today. Beans there. Then the pond going in here, and then down the left side, all with west and southwest winds. It's like, it is as textbook as you can get. Like, that's a farm that I would buy because of how it sits and how it hunts, and it hunts so easy, and you just leave them alone. You let them feel safe, and you bring them out there. And so
they will not win.
They will not win.
They will not win.
No. Now, if you were a client at home, if you were somebody that listens, what would you ask for them?
Say it again. Sorry.
So you asked a question for you.
Yeah.
What would you ask for the consumer out there that you've seen a little bit of my stuff, and that they're watching LandLife? What do they want to know? What question would they ask you? Because I think I should start putting questions on Facebook and have people write in. Okay, if you want to write in a question that you really want to know, whitetail, land, buying land, whatever, why don't you email me at chris@brackettOutdoors.com, CHRIS at Brackett, BRACKETT outdoors.com. Or message me on YouTube, message me on, I think I can get messages on Spotify. I think I can get messages on iTunes, and definitely Facebook, Chris Brackett's Land Life, and then Instagram, one of my favorites.
No, I think
what would be that question for the people? Deer or just whatever?
I think the most probably generic question you get is, what should I plant? What do I need here? What do you think works the best? And I think, just from the 3 farms I've been to, I'm no land consultant by any means. I'm just a guy that was looking to help, and I love big deer, and that's it. I don't know nothing about land. I'm learning. I don't know nothing about land, and I really, just from my experiences, is there is no right answer. That every farm's set up different. You can do so many different things, and I would just trust your judgment and the fact that you've been in the game a while. If they don't believe what you're doing or trust your judgment, they have them pull up to the house and see what it looks like. I mean, it's intense. It's broken down every little step, and I think that's huge when you have somebody that's not just selling you a fake dream. When you have somebody that lives it 365 days a year, it's different.
Yeah, I don't think they really, like, people go, "Oh, he's a big deer hunter."
Oh yeah, he likes big deer. I see him post on his Instagram. No.
Like, I don't think they get it.
No.
And the people that I'm now friends with that were clients, they, I have a problem. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do what I love, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, this week alone, hundreds of text messages and calls from clients, friends, past clients that are like, "Hey, what can I spray on this at da 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 da?" Well, I'm their coach. I don't think that's what people realize is, like, I have some people that are clients that call and say, "Hey, I want you to set everything up for me. I just want to walk in October and hunt." Be like, "Okay, well, I'll hire these guys. Extreme, food plotters or whatever of Wisconsin. I forget the name right now, Scott, but I got guys up north that, hire them. They come in, they do everything. And I kind of help them get set up on my plan. I got local guys that I say, "Hey, I need 3 acres of beans here. Go do this." And so they can hire me for a consult. And then I say, "Hey, here's an extra, for this amount, I will be your contractor." And this will be baller when you're done. Then other ones are just like, "Here's your plan. Here's where it's at." And I think next year we go to phases. I think you're going to be in. First one is like, I just come to your place. This is what you need. Let's have a great time. We'll have dinner. I'll teach you everything I know. Here's setup in the field. I think the second one is like, "Hey, here's strategy. Here's this." I think third one is like, "Yo, here's everything, and I'm going to contract it all out for you and get it finished turnkey." I think that's where it's going, because a lot of guys are like, "I don't know what I'm even asking these guys. I feel like I'm drowning over here with the information you gave me." So what do you think the question is? Like, what is the question to answer? You said generalize, what would I plant?
Yeah. Well,
I think you do 3 things. If you're going to plant clover, you frost seed that early, still in May. You can go in and no-till drill it, or just get your spray the area with glyphosate,
whatever.
and I think you just spray it all, get it killed. I think you can till it up, throw it down. With clover and alfalfa, I just go 20 pounds to the acre. It's normally 10, but 15 to 20 pounds per the acre. I use whitetail, Clover Rush. These guys right here, Gold Strike and Clover Rush. Okay. Throw them down. Go buy some generic oats. Throw the oats down. Oats will germinate really fast and kind of protect your little baby clovers, even if it's May. Throw them down. Get them growing. Go sometime in June, mow off the oats. Your clover's going to come up. Your oats are going to kind of terminate. They're going to try to grow and whatever. That'd be number one. so I think what you're asking is how does somebody feed deer?
Yeah.
How you know what
Yeah.
you're the food plot guy.
Yeah.
That's one. Clover Rush from White Gold. You can go to Whitetail Deer Feed. And then you have beans are king.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm going to get a Roundup Ready soybean. I'm going to get an Enlist soybean, which handles. You got a Roundup Ready soybean that handles glyphosate, and you can spray all the weeds. So the problem is that, like, as you're learning, there's weeds that are that'll put up with gly.
Mm-hmm.
So you go ahead and get a. If you have too many of, like, let's say I've been teaching you about mare's tail and water hemp. These things are hard to kill, even with the craziest of chemicals. But you can put a 2,4-D and a Roundup glyphosate into a sprayer and spray these things and kill the ground, and then put your beans in at 100 to 150 pounds per acre. And to grow soybeans, I normally rule of thumb are 3 pounds to the acre. Okay. 3 pounds to the, no, hold on a second. Well, I don't even know why I said that. I was thinking of, hold on a second, 3 acres per 100 acres. I don't even know where I came up with that. 3 acres of beans per 100 acres of timber or whitetail habitat, 3 acres of that soybean. And I would love to have a little clover plot just off the side of that, like a green to green transition. And then being able to play the wind, hunting that west side with west side, being able to hunt that east side with that west wind. Mm-hmm. And that's textbook my farm. Clover coming through a little transition area. Yeah. Every deer comes there into this big 3 acres of beans. Mm-hmm. Hunting on the east side with east side access coming up into the blind and the tree stand, being able to hunt that little transition. And then if you can grow corn, listen to me, if you guys are getting out there and getting angsty to plant corn, you better be knowing how much nitrogen you need to put into the soil, because the nitrogen feeds that corn to really make that ear. There's no reason to put it out there without really pouring that nitrogen to it. It's like 4 or 5 bags per acre that you have to work in the soil. Don't just put it on top pelletized wise, like 4600. If you put on top, if you can put it on top right before a big rain, it'll soak in. But if you don't, it'll evaporate and it won't create those ears. But if you're planting corn, mm-hmm. man, do it right, do it correctly, and you will just find yourself in a place where you're getting big ears, and you just growing stalks for corn isn't a success in my definition, So that's it. Like, you're looking at 3 things. Figure out how to plant clover, figure out how to plant soybeans, and you have corn as an option. But most people are not going to plant corn. They don't have a corn planter. So I would look at number one thing in all food plotting. If the next generation was to have a private piece of ground that they wanted to put in a food plot, here's what you do. It's spring right now. Get a sprayer on a 4-wheeler. One of our friends at least has a sprayer on a 4-wheeler. Pour 32 to 45 ounces per acre of glyphosate into that sprayer for 25 gallons and drive around and kill all the grass and all the stuff. That's it. Number one, do that. Do it in the spring and then wait about a month and then spray that whole area again in end of June or July. Kill it all again. Keep it dead to the end of July or 1st of August. And then you can go in there with any kind. Now, picture this. That brown spot is dead in the middle of summer because you've hit it twice. Yeah. All the green plants have soaked in that poison of that gly, and you've added water and gly. It soaked it in. It killed it. It's dead as crap. That means the soil's sitting there open. Now you can go in right after a rain and just mess it up. I mean, you've seen your 4-wheeler tires mess up ground. Anything that you can get to get that soil just loosened up a little bit, and you can go in with a gold fever, a white gold fever, like a brassica blend, put that in there, and that will grow like crazy. If you want to add a little bit of cereal grains, add a little bit of like Gold Fever Klondike, throw that in there. That'll grow like wildfire. You will have your first food plot. So listen, if you're wanting to start out food plotting, number one general question that Connor's asking about is get a hand sprayer, get a 4-wheeler sprayer, put a sprayer on the back of your truck. You can go buy one for $200, put it on the back of your truck, get in that area and spray that sucker with glyphosate and put it at about 45 ounces per acre. Spray that sucker, get it dead. Spray it twice between now and August 10th, August 15th. August 10th or 15th, find somebody with a little bitty disc on their 4-wheeler or tractor, ruffle up that ground a little bit, throw those brassica seeds down, throw those oats and that ryegrass or whatever grains you want to put with it, run it over, smash it into the ground, get a rain on it, and you'll get this incredible plot with no weeds in there. And that's your first food plot. Now, once that happens, you've killed all the weeds in that area all summer, one whole year. Now get you some whitetail gold strike, get you some clover rush, put that down this February and March, and this spring it'll grow up. Most beautiful clover plot you've ever had, and you've got this beautiful clover plot, and you're like, well, now what do I do? I'm like, well, you bought that sprayer, spray it with IMOX in next May, and you'll have this beautiful clover plot, and you'll have it for 6 years. You don't even have to mow it. Just spray it with that IMOX twice a year at 5 ounces to the acre, and you have this beautiful clover plot that turkeys and deer and everybody will eat it. That's the simplest form I can do.
Yeah. That's it right there. You want to learn, fast rewind 5 minutes. It tells you right there, step by step, what you need to do. Isn't it crazy, man, what deer hunting can do to people, like bringing us together?
Yeah,
and there's
cool.
there's just so many different ways to hunt them. Just that's another thing I think I love about deer hunting is it's specialized to how you want to do it.
It's how you want to do it, like your way.
Yeah.
Gun, bow, crossbow,
and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you come from nothing or you have $10 million waiting.
You can still go kill a deer and get your heart pounding.
However you want to do it.
And then figure out how to cook it and eat it. And then like there's something about figuring out how to cook that backstrap or having like deer tacos.
Yeah.
Like we love deer tacos. Like
yeah.
It's probably the leanest, it's the best tacos I've ever had. And so like even eating it, figuring out how to teach the family. The main thing that I'm really talking about is taking the kids out to track that deer. I got a buddy, Nathan, and he'll listen to this and he'll laugh in his garage right now while he's hanging out. Nathan Harper, but he'll pass up 130-inch deer because he thinks he hunts 150-inch deer. He's got a kid on the way. He's already got 2. He loves just being in his garage. And I'm like, listen, dude, if 120-something-inch deer that you're hunting 20 acres comes by and you're on the ground with it, like, why didn't you kill it the day before Halloween and go track it with your daughter and put that rack under your garage wall and enjoy that experience? Because you know, as soon as November comes, all your acorns are gone and all your spots are gone and things just change. And so don't compare yourself with me or anybody else as far as the whitetail. Like set your own personal goals, whether it's hunting a public ground or getting a piece of permission on a private or whatever those little goals are. Like that's the key.
Yeah. And do it the way you want to do it and have fun.
Yeah.
Don't worry about whatever somebody else is posting. Don't be afraid to post things and just ask questions of your older hunters and just
ask questions.
Have fun. You ain't going to learn. You got to fail. You got to fail.
You have to fail. What did you think about, you were pretty stoked. So I just want to tell everybody about the lowdown. The lowdown, you can read anything on there. Read the website there on the back or something. This is lowdown. This is my viewfinder. I have an appointment actually with Al, and Al is going to teach me how to set my lowdown viewfinder up viewer. This is my SD card viewer. You've only seen it on the podcast. You haven't seen it in person. So I'm going to take it out of the case and you can check it out. This is it right here, dude. Look at this sucker. So it's a tablet. Okay. It's a tablet. It's got a 9-inch screen on it. Lowdownviewer.com. For me, the number one key for this sucker is I can take that viewer and I can have it in my truck and I can run from farm to farm, all my farms, client farms, whatever. And look on that one side.
Which
Look on the side with the SD cards.
Yeah, I was seeing that.
So one of them is a camera card and the other one is a save card. Right. So the save card acts as a hard drive. So I've got like 128 gig card or whatever, megabyte or whatever.
Yeah.
Big one. And then all my 16s and my 32s, I can instantly put that card in there from that camera, and I can hit download and it immediately goes to that other card. And I can just grab that other 32. I can set it to erase it, to format it, put it back into the camera. And I don't have to have 50 cards anymore. Oh, nice. I just have to have the viewfinder that I can watch videos on, 4K videos. And look at my pictures. Yeah. But the main key is I have that with me. I can throw it in there. I can hit just download the whole thing. And I'll download that whole card and I'll look at them all when I get home.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it has a ton of different options. And we just thank Lowdown for being a part of LandLife and bringing it. We're going to talk a lot more about it. And I've got a big meeting with Al and just talking about, like, he's very technical about stuff. Right. And so, like, getting really technical with the high speed trail camera stuff and how the SD cards work. And, even comes down to setting up my cover. Really? He noticed that my cover was backwards. He was like, your cover's backwards. I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, I haven't used it like to set it up. And he's like, oh, it can set up. And look at how cool it is. Like, it just grabs it and snaps in and protects it. But yeah, for me, my main reason is, even though I run cell cameras, is to grab the sucker, throw in an SD card, have the main full card, download it there. Like, you just push this button and turn it on and just take it with you. Yeah. And that's for all you youngsters, that's it. Just pops on.
That's awesome.
And I can swipe through them and look at them. I mean, it's super cool. So anyways, that's Lowdown viewer. And we appreciate them for being a part of the pod. And we appreciate you guys for being here. This is episode 26. Connor has been with me all week planting miscanthus. We sure hope it grows. It's raining right now. We have October Magic planted in the backyard, planted last week. Make sure if you're planting miscanthus that once you plant it, you're putting a burn down of glyphosate 2,4-D dual and an atrazine or a simazine. And we just want to thank White Gold as well. White Gold, Clover Rush. If you guys are looking for switchgrass right now, I've got switchgrass, my switchgrass. Look at this baby right here. Read on the back. Oh, read on the front of that. That's got some Tecumseh in it. White Gold Tecumseh and Big Rock.
Switchgrass.
And some cave-in rock, some switch. This will go 1 whole acre. So all that stuff we've been putting out, the simazine and the 2,4-D and the Roundup, this is what I'm burning down for. I plant at the end of May, 1st of June. I'm burning down with 2,4-D, Gly and simazine, burn it down, till it up, throw this down. This will do an acre. This is 6 pounds. This will do an acre. And then just call to pack it in like a regular deal. And you're going to have, probably 2 to 4 foot tall switchgrass this September. It really grows in the heat of the summer. It really likes hot temperatures. But that's what you're looking at. This is called Fort Knox from White Gold. So go check it out. We sure appreciate you guys. This is LandLife episode 26. Thanks, Connor.
Thank you.
What were we going to tell them? Subscribe or what?
Make sure to like the video, subscribe on all platforms, and we appreciate it. Keep tuning in. Chris Brackett's LandLife. See you later.